important. What responsibility do citizens bear in ensuring an active government? And how do we distinguish between political maneuvering and substantive government? The expectations require urgent reforms for Nigeria to move to the next level. While more straightforward cases, particularly those of political significance, become entangled in technical complexities, and languish in our course for months. For example, let us consider this instructive example from the Second Republic. In 1983, the old Ondo State witnessed a contest between Governor Michael Adekunle and his deputy, Chief Victor Akin Onigbinde. When the Federal Electoral Commission, FEDECO, declared Onigbinde the winner on August 13, 1983, civil unrest followed. Then Ajasin challenged this result through proper legal channels. Remarkably, the Electoral Tribunal delivered its verdict in Ajasin's favor on September 10, less than a month after the election. Less than a month. When Onigbinde appealed, the appellate court in Benin dismissed his case just 17 days later, on September 27. The Supreme Court in Lagos eventually affirmed Ajasin's victory on October 15, and he was sworn in for a second term on October 18. So what am I saying? The entire judicial process from tribunal to Supreme Court concluded in just 35 days, from tribunal to appeal court to Supreme Court. But what do we have today in Nigeria? Our distinguished speakers bring invaluable experience and public sectors to address today's topic. As the world advances, Nigeria cannot afford stagnation. Welcome to all, and thank you.
Thank you. Our host, we have Professor Thompson Ewata and Professor of English now. Ms. Prof, thank you very much for joining us. We have Dr. Davis. I yield the microphone to our chairman, the fecund, the colorful, the charismatic, for his good remarks. Okay, thank you. Baba, I understand there's a mic on your. Thank you very much.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, so many gadgets these days. Let me first of all welcome the chief guest lecturer, ably represented by the former Deputy Governor of Rivers State, an engineer like me. You know, today's topic will be quite exciting because what is playing out in Nigeria today is somehow a couple of, just about a week ago, we lost a political guru, a highly responsible, respectable, dogged fighter. Papa, meet Papa closely, and we were in the same subcommittee. Looking out, our subcommittee was to look at what type of constitution should Nigeria have. And I remember many of the members of that subcommittee were. So jokingly, I think it was Siminalayi or somebody who looked and said, but you don't belong to the Afenifere group. And as my God, I was governor in the state. On my part of this country, is there anybody who will come up and tell you is not Afenifere? Are you an Afenifere? Is anybody come and say is an Afenifere in Olubolade? So we laughed it up, and then we may belong to different political groups. Everywhere brought up, well-schooled, well-cultured man or the Afenifere. Now, we lost that Baba. Baba adopted as his political son. Most times he would call, if I didn't go to respond, he would come to my house. We lost it there. And then about a week after that, I also met Papa Clark at the same conference. And he also adopted me as his political son. Can we tell these people now, imagine that was another day. Fortran, solid. They started all their, they knew. And my Oga, General Brian Babangida, within the same period, came up with his memoirs. The memories that had been in a very dark bubble for a very long time, and decided to ease out his mind, write that story that has been germinating every nook and cranny of this country. I have listened severally to so many commentators, some being positive, some being negative, some being even very abusive. But I want to appeal. That he decided to put pen to paper to ease his own mind. He was the epicenter of the operation at that time. Rather than say, okay, he has said his story, leave it for students of political science and historians, history students, and those of us who are still playing politics now, to examine the details as stated by him. Have we learned any lessons? Are things been different since that time? Or things have been growing worse by the hour? So when I received so should we as Nigerians continue to treat ourselves like this? This is a nation that is so agricultural resources. And before we used to talk about this part and all that, I have sneaked through this country. There is no part of Nigeria that is not endowed with one resource or the other. Why are we still not growing? Where is that giant of Africa? Since Babangida's We've had so many elections. If you just mention that of Baba yesterday, I want to remind, I don't know how many people have grown up that time. 1962 crisis in the West, that's when it started. What happened? Suddenly there was a little sketchy thing between Papa Awolowo and Papa Akin. The government have the power, waded into it, took sides. Before we knew it, there was Coca inquiry about the governance of Baba Awolowo. Who was the chairman of that inquiry? Justice Coca. Where is he from? And where was he from? Egbaland. There was also the treasonable felony. What happened? I was in Form 3, I think, of court in Lagos. Who was the justice who delivered that judgment? Baba, I think Mola, so when we were, I remember. That was the first time they brought the kill and go people. First where we trekked there. By the time they had delivered, they saw these children and we were looking and they were creating fun for us, the kill and go. That was the first time they came. They demonstrated, we were, looking and watching which kind of law are these ones. In their special uniform, on the bed. We were laughing. We thought it was. All of a sudden, they turned on us. We ran like hell. They pursued us into the central cemetery. Then in Bamboshi area. It was when we entered into that cemetery, they backed out. Because they didn't know why we went into a cemetery. But because we came from that area, we were used to playing in the cemetery, and that was the first cemetery in Lagos. Then there was that election, 1962. Akintola joined up with Fanikayode. Television, no black and white. It was the first thing Awolowo did. In fact, we had a television before the French. Those who are alive at that time, remember, I had Baba Fanikayode tell us. He said, Edibo Fua, I need 51 bank cash. Whether you vote for us.
Thank you very much. All right. Before we take a seat, you're welcome. All right. So before we go to before we hear from the government, I need to quickly take some recognition. We have the members of Simplified Movement, Lagos and South Western. Can we give them a round of applause? Prince Cookie, my friend and my brother, is the publisher and editor-in-chief of Business Journal. Let's give him a round of applause. The most talented artist. So Ibifa Dakuku is also in our midst. Let's give him a round of applause. On South today, Mr. Obina is in the hall. Let's give him a round of applause. Of course, we all know that our host is a member, not just a member, but a proud member of the Guild of Corporate Online Publishers. And members of the Guild are epic and very well represented here today. We have Ogbuefi Remy Mweke, the Group Executive Editor, IT Rems Media, and the Publicity Secretary of Global. Please let him a round of applause. Mr. Michael Simire, the editor-in-chief and publisher of Please cannot give him a round of applause. Also in our midst is Mr. Chigbo, the publisher of Newsmakers. Let's give him a round of applause. The bullion van. Dr. Ray Eche publisher next morning. Is in our midst. Let's give him a round. Please don't stop clapping until
Governor of Rivers State. Citizens' participation. This lecture will in shaping our socio-political landscape. To start this discussion, we will need to first and foremost define who is the leader and who are the led. A leader is an individual or group entrusted with the responsibility of making decisions, setting policies, and guiding a society or organization towards development. Leaders in Nigeria include elected officials such as presidents, governors, legislators, and other political appointees who have the mandate to serve the public and implement policies for national progress. Importantly, leaders are selected, mark my word, leaders are selected from amongst the led and thus are a microcosm of the society. This means that the values, attitude, and behavior of the general populace are reflected most often in the leadership they produce. What I'm trying to say is each and every one of us, even in our teaching, what is our attitude? How do we behave? These are questions we must. Do you take responsibility? Are you accountable in your own little space? You don't have to be president before you become a leader. On the other hand, the led refers to the general populace, the citizens who entrusted their leaders with authority through elections. They include voters, taxpayers, and all Nigerians who play roles in shaping governance through their participation in democratic process. The led has the power to influence leadership by making informed choices and holding leaders accountable to their actions. We need to understand exactly what are the socio-political challenges, some of which I will quickly state are economic stagnation, including unemployment, in natural resources, with economic funds, slow progress development. For us in Rivers State, in the last transparent and judicious. With the procurement process to the competitive NDDC, to regional development, we fully support the federal government's plan to accelerate the completion, as this will directly enhance issue of security. Rising insecurity from insurgents in the northeast to violence in the Niger Delta remains a pressing concern. In states like Rivers, political interference in law enforcement has made the situation even worse than it ordinarily should have been. The issue of electoral malpractice. Elections in Nigeria are often marred by violence, rigging, and voters' intimidation in the democratic process and prevents credible leadership from emerging. Rivers State has witnessed some of the most electoral cycles in the country. Weak institutions. Public institutions meant to serve the people are often ineffective, like road, healthcare, and education remains inadequate in many states, despite vast national adequate in many states, despite vast national institutions are supposed to act as checks and balances. But Nigeria's weak institutions have further exacerbated governance challenge. The judiciary, legislature, security agencies often operate under political influence, undermining their effectiveness. For instance, the Independent National Electoral Commission has failed to uphold the law concerning political defection. According to the Constitution, lawmakers who defect from the party on whose platform they were elected should lose their seat. However, INEC has been selective in enforcing this rule of neutrality. When it's and democracy, we are aware of the level of interference, unfortunately, and the weakness of the institution.
Thank you very much. We'll have Dr. Ibrahim Oyole Moses. Thank you very much. We'll have Mr.
And I wonder where the dichotomy is. I mean, it would seem to think that they both exist in different where they all belong. You so much lost his constituency or the country or the state. It's investing. It's investing. Election. I mean, they did not deliver in favor of Akin. Election. I mean, they did not deliver in favor of Akin. Because I was somewhere in University of Lagos here. Hiding. We could not even visit the state because people reacted. Because those people voted on their conscience. You are not like to be able to mobilize and counter somebody. Nobody is rigging again. Let us get it right. No governor is rigging again, except that you cannot say the elections are free and fair because they pay you, you go to vote. So nobody pays you, you go to vote. So nobody's adding figures to numbers again. Nobody's snatching boxes, but the governors are paid for those votes. In 1 week, and after that, we have to come back. We'll come back again and repeat the cycle. I'm sorry, the Stockholm syndrome is all over the place. You see us fighting ourselves, the so-called late. I queue behind Governor Fubara. Somebody is queuing behind Wiki. These people don't forget about it. It's a transactional business going on there. They mobilize you, they mobilize me, and we confront ourselves on the street. What for? When Babangida, the man who had known an election, I know he spent. It's about 35 years. That's one area. The list is 10,000 naira. 10, 15. The opposition paid 5, 10. What I noticed in Ondo State election, there was no serious campaign. And they couldn't care about to induce the people that will vote. This issue, and there's no way we can have a very good leadership beyond states and local government. Supreme Court have given a verdict that local government should have their autonomy, financial autonomy or wherever implemented. There is a politics between the
Gani, Adams, the realm of Kakan of Yoruba. Of course, we're going to hear from a retired captain, a former minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and most importantly, the father-in-law for Navy Captain Omoni Olubolade.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to speak on the contributions. I will just speak from my little experience in governance. Once you become a leader, everything falls on unity. This is something that even the point I want to make here is whether you are the led or you are the leader, if you play your
situation under the leaders.
Senator Prof. Akin, former Deputy Governor of Lagos State, and one of the early warning systems was becoming an autocracy. And people thought that the man was just being stubborn. The deputy governor should just sit down, and the man said, no, I'm a deputy governor responsible to the said, no, I'm a deputy governor responsible to the constitution and to the people. And if you don't need this dictatorship in the board, the whole of the country, at that time the whole of the state, but now we can see that we are all seeing the effect of not making that in the board. Former governor, military governor of Peterside State, a great naval officer and an exemplary citizen of the state. I'm glad to see you here, sir. Olubolade, and my brother and warrior, the Area of Dakuku for Olubolade, Gani Adams. It's good to hear you speak, and it's good to see that the fire is still there, covered by your white abada. And Professor, there's a difference between a professor in the classroom and a professor on the street. Professor in the classroom is constrained by the syllogism of his teaching, but the professor on the street is like, if you pick your and every time I close the light, I will find a newspaper, whether it's the sketch, Tribune, Daily Times, whatever. You will see fuel scarcity, inflation, somebody has been beaten up by the police, a bad road, whatever it is. We use them as excuses for failure. We use them for comedy shows. Most of our comedy characters who do stand-up comedy, they use our problems to joke. But we don't have real problems. We don't have problems that make other people. Because they will say their commission is 27 million. So we managed to kill our currency so meaningless. So when you hear today that we are spending 50 trillion, it's not up to the budget we had in 1990. So when we announce all of these are problems, let me just come to my understanding. I went around Nigeria and tried to identify the problems. And when I found those 5 things, I realized, you know what, these are not big problems. The major problem, which should have been our greatest problem, Onigbinde, Azikiwe. In fact, many of our problems is not in conflict with yourself. So you can be a Nigerian, you can be Hausa. It is possible, it is the job of the leader. That is why we have a head of state. The presidency of Nigeria has 3 offices inside it. You have to be the head of state, which was the role that Azikiwe played. Having to be well trained by Herbert Macaulay on how to be the leader of all Nigeria. If he would not have died in Kano, he went in order to make the country one identity. The second identity is that the president
Well, I think the MC wants to announce that Governor Gbenga is here. I don't want to steal your job. Because you might have done it better than I could. We can now see that God is a God of justice. Because I was a late comer, I came where somebody was speaking, and God also paid me back by making sure that. So basically, problems are not insurmountable of effort. So the first thing I discovered is that you have to give the Nigerian person, the Nigerian community, a leadership that can reconcile all the so-called conflicts in our identity. Because, in addition, you come from a cultural environment, you are trained in Western education, you have Christianity, all of this that you are combined to make your identity. We have turned this composite identity to platform for grievances. There is no reason why a good leader for the country, especially if he wants to be a good head of state, should not be able to reconcile all of this identity to know that they are all assets given by God. Second problem that I see is because if you tell somebody in 1800, go to Olubolade and go up and come down in 5 minutes. Why should I do that? But if Gani came and put a lift there, you could go up and come down in 5 minutes without breaking a sweat. Envision Nigeria's problem that way. That many of the problems we see today, how do we feed 200 million people? How is that a problem? Well, we have land that can feed 2 billion people. As big as China is, Nigeria has more farmland in Niger State than the whole of China. As much as Ukraine makes out of selling wheat to the world, Ukraine has less land than Ogun State for agriculture. So there is no major problem when you listen to a Nigerian leader telling you all his problems. What he's telling you is his incapacity to think, because it is not the load that kills, it's how you carry it. For those who are engineers, it's probably hydraulics. If you have to carry any load, before you say it is heavy, you have to ask what means will allow you to carry it. Because 500 bags of cement to be carried with a wheelbarrow will not work. But if you have forklift and you have a articulated trailer or a tractor, you will carry it successfully. So when you choose leadership, or you are besotted or whatever, or bestowed with leadership that is not fit for the challenge of the day, every challenge is a means for grievance. Third thing is we do not know how to define the standards of governance. The standard of governance is not how the elite lead. No country has been successful in the world by defining their economy, their sociology, by politics, or how the rich people. It's a problem. And that's why we started having social programs for themselves. The last thing I will say, because there's no time and I'm not the guest speaker, is that the constitution that we have, it's not perfect. However, the only way we can improve on it, whether it's devolution, whether it's all of you want to do, is that we must learn the habit of sincerity of purpose. The problem with our constitution has to do with the way it's written, the way it's gotten. But the major problem has to do with that we approach it for the purpose of evasion. We look into it and say, this is the constitution of Nigeria. How do I violate it? But if we look at it from the point of view of how do I make it work, we will make it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir.
Honorable Minister, once a minister, always a minister. My recognition. And of course, in a special way, permit me to recognize the area of Olubolade, Iba, Gani, and you're most welcome. And of course, our presidential candidate for SDP, an erudite lawyer and somebody who I usually admire, I recognize you. While I also quickly recognize Dr. Akin, Onigbinde. My first response is to ask for forgiveness for my late coming. I know that is probably I wasn't going to be allowed to come on the podium, but I quickly pleaded with the MC that if everybody is speaking from here, why do you want me to speak from? Please accept my unreserved apologies. These days, about 5 days today, I woke up in Lagos. I've had to take a program in Shagamu, and I had to jump back here to please just accept my unreserved apologies. The hall is full. I've seen quite a number of very, very important personalities. Just permit me to say all other protocols as extended. I didn't have the privilege of listening to some of the speakers, and I want to especially congratulate Mr. Gbenga and Freedom Online for this is the first time pool is full to the brim and it has overflowed outside. So there is clearly something good that is happening around Freedom Online. Let me quickly say that Gabriel and I come a long way, and part of what has kept us together is more or less ideological. Gabriel is a man of principle, somebody who is from Ondo State. I know Ondo people the way they are. They are just highly principled people. Although not as people for us, in Ondo State, but I looked at I didn't do it well. I've just been corrected that I didn't recognize the guest speaker properly. Please accept my apologies. When you see your coverage now, sometimes you take them for granted. As you look at him, we come a very, very, very long way. I've forgotten now that he's more or less in charge of probably one of the richest states in Nigeria. Please once again accept my apologies. I'm told that the topic today is has to do with our social economic challenges, and we should speak whether it's about leadership or followership. And I know that the people who have spoken will have properly dissected this at the job. And in speaking about this, I agree with the people who have said that you can have and you don't encourage a number of us to read wide, far and wide. I had the opportunity of attending the University of Lagos. By the way, of course, you all agree with me that that is the best university. These people who attended that advanced secondary school in Ife, they will be you think that is good for you is that this was part of what Olabode did, and so to that extent, we will consider a few things. But on a more serious note, we had the opportunity at the University of Lagos Library, there are the level of law, another for humanities, and so on and so forth. And during job, not the course system they do this, go to a level that is not what you are normally reading. So you level that is not what you are normally reading. So you go to law, you go to humanities, you go to law, you go to humanities, you go to that's where I studied all the autobiographies of that's where I studied all the autobiographies of the great people. That's where I met Olabode. I didn't meet him of the great people. That's where I met Olabode. I didn't meet him physically at that time. So when you have that kind of wide knowledge, and that for me is what integration is all about. I want to subscribe to the fact that the majority of the problem lies or for the powerful minority. So at the point I want to that was one question I would ask. The second question I'll ask is, am I able to stand in front of national television? I have signed it. That's the question I'm going to ask myself. The answer is no. I don't sign it. First thing, evaluation of what has to be done. And the first thing is Ogun State. So when the job has to be done, it is south to southwest. Everything and anything was there. People out of the streets. You know, our brother from Olubolade. Yeah, we did. Because there was Olubolade and become modern and on. So we really have this. I can go on and on and on and on. It could be as a result of the evolution, wrong education, that we decided injured our economy. The leadership try as much as well to look inwards. Try as much as well to look inwards. Followership will also try to modify. Followership will also try to modify their expectations. Their expectations. I elucidated the something that elucidated the something that we can, handle here. Now, handle here. Now, if when I wanted to build the airport, I didn't find time to do the airport. However, the only reason why we consider what is not local is an Italian, British Airways, if they do not see that you have a reputable consultant on the job, that's okay. That makes a lot of sense. So we brought a foreign consultant, but we ensure that we marry them with a local consultant. But we ensure that we marry them with a local together. As a matter of fact, the local consultant did all the work. But those ones came and put their staying therefore is that whatever is going on can be came and put their staying therefore is that whatever is going on can be done by our people. And if for one reason or that we need somebody's help our hand. So I just want to agree to you are representing all the leaders here.
While they are doing that, I need Gani Adams to please step forward. Represented by Gbenga Daniel, please. Gbenga Daniel will be presenting the award. That is actually a double promo. Okay, thank you very much. So immediately after that, Senator Gbenga Daniel will be presenting his own award, will be presenting an award, Chigbo George. Okay? Alright? Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We are going to take the last award, and that is for the 2024 Governor of the Year, the Governor of Rivers State, Governor Siminalayi.
My brother, how now? Hey, okay. Thank you for our leaders and the